Hello everybody, this is Reggie Time, and this is episode 2 of my Frills Nanostakes compilation, I guess is the way of putting it. We're on Sky 10L tables, and it's specifically by request of a player whose sorry his name escapes me now. I do apologise, but yeah, someone's asked me to play some of the Sky 10L tables, so why not? We'll just do that. It won't be a particularly long video because two tabling regular tables doesn't necessarily make for the most exciting games. I might actually put a table on my second monitor and just drag that in and out of the screen as and when there's something interesting happening, just to hopefully help with keeping the video moving along. But yeah, we're going to focus mostly today on the importance or the power of position, and why it's important to try and play most of our hands in position against our opponents, and if it isn't, to try and make sure that we are playing and getting our opponent's heads up. And we'll talk more about that as the video goes on, and why that's important. I'm not going to continue to babbling on this, but we had the backdoor flush draw, we had two overcards. We still have the two overcards, but we have the backdoor flush draw went for the Burtons, so we could still just have the best hand here. Wow, he just peeled 4-5 on that flop. So yeah, we can tag George as a green tag, which is my tag for loose passive player. And just look how loose passive these games are here. I'm just going to complete this time with the King Jack. And this time George makes a 5x isolation raise. We're not going to continue here at this point. We're just going to fold our hand. So yeah, the importance of position when playing poker. Just playing out of position, it's just really not good for us. Poker's a game of limited information as it is. If we're regularly playing, and what would you say? So the ace 8 to 5x. If we're regularly playing out of position versus our opponents, we're going to be doing too much guessing when we're playing. We're going to be kind of not knowing where we are in hands anywhere near as much as we need to know, so we can make good decisions. So yeah, we want to be trying to play in position. If we can't play in position, we want to be trying to make sure that if we're going to be out of position, we're at least doing it out of position to one player and not multiple players. Because once we become out of position to multiple players, kind of the only way to really win a pot is to have the best hand. And even if we do have the best hand, we can't maximise value for it most of the time, because if we make some strong bets, people are going to not be too hard for them to put us in a strong range. Or if we check to people, we're kind of relying on them doing our betting for us across multiple streets, which isn't that likely in loose passive games of poker. So yeah, playing in position, we get to decide when bets go in, we get to see what our opponents do first. It's poker 101, but for new players, they might not realise the importance of that. So we're going to try and focus on that today during this video, and hopefully getting some spots both ways where we can demonstrate how much of an advantage it is playing in position, and also how much of a disadvantage it is when playing out of position. So I might play some hands from out of position that I wouldn't usually play, and this would be just to demonstrate that how difficult it is to play out of position. I'm just going to thought about our kings here against catch 22. We've now got a reasonable stack to pot ratio. It's a 4-bet pot, and we started 150 blinds deep, and we're just going to go bet here. If we get raised, we're not going to be inclined to fold. If he doesn't have aces here, I expect we're just going to have the best hand most of the time, because this doesn't hit the kind of hand that 3 bets and then flats a 4-bet out of position. So he doesn't have aces. I just think with the best hand, just going to get the money in, hopefully. If he folds, well, we'll take it for what it is. I'm hoping he's got a hand like pocket jacks, pocket queens, pocket tens, that type of thing that's just like seen a pretty safe flop, gone for a check raise, and wow, he just has queen ace, so that's an excellent result for us. Not really sure what catch-22 was trying to achieve at any point during that hand, but as is not the reason why, I guess, when it comes to strange things our opponents do. That was that was fun. That was fun. So yeah, I'm going to try and open a third table, but I don't want too many tables on the screen because on Sky it can get confusing. It's pretty quick as it is. So yeah, there's the third table. We're going to take that over to my second monitor, and if anything, well, I was about to join the table, but someone's beat me to the punch. If anything happens on it, we'll bring it across. And I'll try my best to describe the action as best I can. George looks fun, doesn't he? We can't defend the king too. Wow. Min raise, min 3-bet. We're out of here with that king deuce off. We couldn't have defended it even to a min raise. I don't think it's just too weak. Quib just folds. We can safely take him. And I would sometimes call here, but draw into like a baby flush on what's already a paired board. It can't ever be a really good idea, so I'm not going to do it. We're going to complete the king 9 off though. Ace jack. We're going to call here just to demonstrate how difficult it is to play out of position without the initiative, and or hopefully demonstrate that. Normally I would 3-bet or fold this hand, but fortunately the flops really combined well with it as well, because it's given us a tricky spot because we're out of position now in a multi-way pot with second pair on a wet board. And this is what makes it really hard. We might have the best hand here. It's well, not very likely, but it's not unreasonable to think we have the best hand. But it's just how are we going to get value for it if we have the best hand? How are we going to kind of protect us if we get raised? What are we going to do? What's our plan? And we do get raised, and I guess we just have to fold. And this is the unpleasant part of playing out of position. And this is why we try not to do it, because we've got a pretty strong hand here relative to the board. It's likely he's got a king, you would imagine. It's a 3 king. Well, not unlikely, but he might not have a king. There's 2 already on the board, but we just have to fold. And I'm glad that happened. I've wasted 80 pence or whatever. It's not a big deal. Because it did demonstrate just how hard it is to play out of position, even with relatively strong hands that flop reasonably well. I'm just going to call this really small squeeze. Seems like a really good table on table 2. All we need to do is find some kind of hand, and don't think we're going to have too many problems getting paid. So the ace jack off, don't usually call that out of position in that exact situation. It's not something we'll do. There's another situation very similar. We're out of position to one player in a multi-way pot on a weird kind of board against George, who's clearly a weird type of player, and we're just going to check guessing, I guess. Check guessing, I guess. Not the best English there by me. Sorry about that. And I think it's going to be pretty damn safe to fold our jack here now when he goes bet call. So yeah, normally I would 3-bet the ace jack off, going back to that hand just to finish it off. So just because I called it, didn't because I advocated a call, it's because I wanted to get myself in a spot out of position with a reasonable strength hand, and it worked out pretty well in terms of describing or allowing me to talk about some of the problems. Hopefully we'll find some more of those problems in the next 20 minutes or so, because it's all well good talking about it's not good to play out of position, but some visual examples are really quite useful. just to demonstrate the point I'm making. I have a new computer now. I am playing solely on Sky, so it's not even like I can. My old computer just completely crashed and died. It's gone. So it's not like I can access my old database and try and find some hands, like same hands like ace, queen off, in position, out of position. That like go through some hand history examples to demonstrate the difficulty of it, which I would have liked to maybe do, but unfortunately that computer's just it's bitten the dust. It had a good knock. We had it 4 years. Now we've got a nice sparkly new one, and for now everything works. You need to make sure that we keep it that way as long as possible. I'm a bugger for basically streaming films on the cheap, and I have all my ad blockers, antiviruses, etc, 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 but for some reason, well, not for some reason, I don't know why it happens, my computer still gets clogged up with all kinds of shite, so I'm going to try and avoid that this time round, and maybe just going to watch things on Netflix and what have you, not go to some snide websites that just has pop-ups galore. Then we'll try and protect our computer that way. I'm not going to open the 8.7 because of... In fact, no, we will open the 8.7 because of George. And we're going to hope George calls. And he does. So we know George has a wide range. He's almost certainly ahead of our 8.7. And we get squeezed, so that's the end of that. You clearly can't continue to a squeeze. Ace-8 off's going to be a fold under all circumstances for me from middle position. If you are opening ace-8 off from middle position, I would strongly recommend you stop doing it, particularly if you're not a winning player or not already a winning player. I mean, I think it's going to be a difficult hand for even a good player to play. If you're currently struggling with your game, then hands like weak offsuit aces are just going to get you in a world of pain time and time again. And try and isolate smalls here on table 1. And we flop a good shot on table 2. Not the greatest flop for us on table 1, but we're probably going to see bet if he checks to us. We have a little bit going on, not much, but we do have a little bit going on. And if we just get into fold hands like ace-5 or whatever, now we've turned a pair, we don't need to bluff this turn card. I'm going to check back here and then probably call the river, unless it comes something terrible. That wouldn't be one of the cards that I consider is something terrible. So that's just a matter of what do we think we can get called by. I'm going to make a bet that hopefully just somehow elicits a call from an 8. I'm going to make a really smallish bet. If he calls with a queen, it's kind of unfortunate because he could have got paid more from a queen if he had a hand like, I don't know, jack queen or something, but don't think he has queen x too often there. I think he has draws 7x, 8x. So with that in mind, I'm going to make bets to target that part of his range. See betting our 7-8 for value against George. I've got some students that play on Sky at 8-L, 4-L, 10-L, and they tell me the game's tough, full of regulars. To be fair, I am making this video at 1:30 AM on a Saturday morning, so if ever games are going to be soft, it's probably going to be now, but I've made a few videos at 10-L, I've done some sweat sessions at 10-L, and I just don't see it personally. Who knows? Maybe it's all relative, maybe relative to my guys. The games are quite reggy and quite tough to beat, but to me, maybe because I play a little bit higher than 10-L. Maybe it just feels easier to me. All these things are relative. Hopefully we get in a situation here with the King Jack suited, which is a pretty hand, but out of position to 2 players, it's going to be tricky to play a lot of the time unless we flop really well with it. So I'm hoping to flop like a second pair type hand here on a Queen XX board. I'll take this guy in case he ever shows up in my games. And we flop and open then straight draw. So this is going to be a good example of now what do we do? In position, if it checks to us, it's a super easy bet. But we don't know if these guys are going to raise us post flop. So we don't, if we bet. So it makes life much harder to, because we just don't know. There's two guys who we just don't know how much what interest they're going to show in that board. We don't know what the pre-flop raise is going to do if somebody bets. Whereas in position, if it checks to us, we have a super easy bet. Now we just have to call. If we make our hand, we're in the dilemma of do we bet or do we check. We do make our hand. This is working out perfectly. We've made our hand on a 3 flush board, which is again making life quite difficult. Our opponent hasn't made a big enough bet, so this is an issue now where we have to raise, and we're going to be committed to the hand. But we don't necessarily. It's not a situation where you really want to be committed. But against someone like George, I think it's fine to commit ourselves in this situation. If he just has a flush, he just has a flush. But I would rather be in a spot here where George has checked to us 3 times. And we were just going bet versus George. Because we know much more about George's range there than when we're at a position where has the diamond made him, has it not made him? And yeah, we've dragged the stack down there. But we had less information with which, and we were kind of, we weren't as sure that we had the best hand. Yeah, we're against George, we've got the nut straight. So there's a good chance that we're going to have the best hand against George. If that was out of position to somebody better than George, then it would have been a problem for us. Mr. Merge has gone for his min 3 bet again. He's going to get upgraded to a light blue, which is my super fish tag. And we hope to hold. He's got some potential. He did not realise his potential though. Wow. This has been a pretty nice session. And in making this video, I did not expect to be up. What is it? I don't know. It's just a master cash table. Didn't expect to be making £30. That's what I didn't expect to be doing. That is a sweet bonus when we're making a video. And again, in keeping with the no frills nanostakes theme, we haven't done anything remotely frilly yet. There's been no frills to our game here. We've just been playing some pretty hands and running well, which is a nice combination. You know, we need to run well when we're playing poker. I don't care how good we are. We need to play well. Hopefully we get some action here with the queens and be out of position with them. Yeah, we're not going to be out of position with them, which is unfortunate. But we are going to flop top set, which isn't unfortunate. No, we don't get any action. Never mind. Wow, kings now. It is all happening. I'm going to make our squeeze slightly bigger here because we're deep with max so the extra 1 or 2 big blinds doesn't make a huge difference, but we're going to make it a little bit bigger. I expect max he should call with literally everything here, given how deep we are. We're 300 blinds deep. I can't imagine there'd be a single hand of my under the gun range that I would fold in that situation if I was Max Fizzle. Just going to shove here again. Small, so he has a 10 then. Praise the Lord. And this is a situation on table 2 where, yeah, we've got a pretty weak hand, but it's just out of position. There's literally nothing we can do. We can sometimes try and take a stab with our pocket 3s there. If we are in position, it checks to us, but out of position, pocket 3s on 10-9x. It's not even the most scary board in the world. But winning that pot in position is going to be much easier with pocket 3. Out of position, 10-9x, we just give up. We have almost no way of winning the pot. C-betting is just kind of setting money on fire when we're out of position, not knowing, you know, anything about our opponent or not knowing much about his range. And in position to be checks to us, at least we can C-bet with with like a modicum of confidence that we might get the fold. Whereas we're just completely guessing when we're at a position. We're just hoping we're going to get the fold. We've no reason to believe we're going to get one. We're just hoping we're going to get one. And then I don't like betting with just hope. I like to have a little bit more to my, bit more spice to my bets than just hoping that we can get a fold through. So that's another, very small thing. I don't always play pocket pairs, small pocket pairs from the early seats, particularly in games where there's a lot of like sticky, cally people behind. Because yeah, it's fine with flop a set, we're much more likely to get paid with it. But at the same time, we just don't flop sets very often. We're going to be multi-weight pots out of position. We're going to just be check folding a lot, and it's just frustrating to check fold. It's not what people or what any of us come to a poker room to do. We don't come to a poker room to raise pocket pairs and check fold them when we miss. It gets frustrating, it gets old, it can definitely lead to some mental game problems for some players, and I include myself in that. If I'm constantly raising, if I just am at a good table where I'm raising wider ranges from every position, but never connecting with boards, it gets old quite quickly, and it gets quite easy to start getting frustrated, start making some C bets that just aren't going to work, or just start becoming too weak and just checking too often and giving up too easily. All kinds of shitty little leaks can come into our game, and it's a lot of it's a product of just playing too many hands out of position and not having like the card strength, or if we haven't got the card strength, we haven't got the positional strength. And if you guys are watching this video, you haven't necessarily got a particular skill advantage over your opponents either. You're setting yourself up for a lot of pretty bad situations. Being out of position with marginal hand against players that are similarly skilled to you, it's not a situation you'd want to engineer. But I see guys doing it all the time because they want to play the 9-8 suited under the gun, or they want to play the 10-9 suited under the gun, and they're just not, a lot of the time, just not good enough to deal with that situation, to deal with the situations that they put themselves in. It'd be very nice if Weather just decided to 4-bet here. I could get on board with that. I'm worried about pocket fives, Jack Queen, most of all here. I'm not worried about anything in particular, but if we bet and get raised, which is now a null point, but I like to look at boards and think, what kind of value type, what part of my opponent's value range might this have hit, or at the top of his range here. And I think it's super unlikely he's got a set of jacks or a set of queens there. So a set of fives, Jack Queen, are the only real hands to be scared of. That's not very many compared to tons of hands we can get value from. So I was kind of thinking that I'm a bet calling here, or I'm a bet folding. And there was absolutely bet calling there, but he snap folded anyway, so it was a moot point. But I do try and plan ahead and think of these things in advance. When I'm going to make a C bet, am I bet calling? Am I bet folding? If I'm not sure what I'm doing, then should I really be betting at all? Those are the kind of things that I'm asking myself before I make any bets. It's a bit trickier on Sky because we don't have any kind of like useful time bank thing going on. But we should still try and do it as often as we can. Particularly in the bigger pots, where any mistakes we make are magnified. Excuse me. It's a shame these tables are starting to break, and this time around on Sky Poker it's super unlikely I'm going to get in too many more. My table off camera has got is maybe slightly better than table 2 right now, but we'll stick with it. We're only going to be going for another 5 minutes or so anyway, so we'll try and stick with it without messing things up. We're going to call against Weather here, and if he checks the river, we're going to bet. If he doesn't check the river, we're going to decide what to do based on his size. We might have let him in the back door here with a king. He might have had us beat from jump with a better kicker. If he's not bluffing here, we're in trouble. Thankfully, well, who knows what he was doing with his 7-6. I'm guessing he was bluffing. But again, that's the power of position. Kind of out of position there. It's going to be much harder to play that hand, know how to proceed. I mean, I was happy to check back my we didn't have a 3-street hand on the flop, top pair shit kicker. But sometimes when we do check back, it gives him a problem. It shows us the power of being in position, because he doesn't know where he's at with his 7 anymore, or his 6, wherever it was he had. So he just starts like randomly clicking buttons, trying to kind of eliminate the guessing game for himself, I guess. But what he's all he's really doing is just causing more problems for himself. What he doesn't need to be doing there really with his 7 is making that pot quite big, unless he's trying to make me fold something like pocket 8s, pocket 9s, something like that. Which is, if that's what he's trying to do, is a reasonable thing to try, I guess, give him a check back the flop. But once I call, I think it's it's ambitious that he's kind of, again, he's more hope that I've got pocket 9s and real expectation that I've got it, or pocket 8s, something like that. And who knows, Weserman might be a half decent player. That didn't show him in too much good light, but he might be, and he might just have thought that he could maybe fold something between a 6 and a king. Not sure if Wes is good, not sure if he's steaming, not sure if he's just bad. Who knows, but he's certainly getting involved. These are good games. I don't want to drag everyone to Sky and like make Sky like the worst place to play all of a sudden. But if you are in the UK and you play regular tables and you don't mass table and you're not playing on Sky, I think you're costing yourself money basically. I mean, if you're playing on PokerStars and you're playing 4 tables of Zoom, yeah, of course, it's a completely different kettle of fish. But if you're on Party Poker or AAA or anywhere basically, and you're playing the micro stakes, regular tables, no more than say 4 to 6, then you are making a pretty big mistake by not being on Sky, in my opinion. So we have potential interesting hand on a table off camera, and we're going to call with the ace jack. Call this first bet with a 9-7, and we're going to hope to see if we can demonstrate the advantage of playing in position with a marginal hand against who knows what type of player he is. Fold our ace jack. We're going to check back with our 9-7. And these are things we get to do when we got these marginal hands. I maybe could have bet there. I got a little bit all over the spot with my tables. Then we get to decide now whether we want to value bet or not. And we don't get this out of position. If we had the 9-7 out of position, this board texture, we wouldn't get to decide whether to value bet anywhere near as much. And we just got to realise all of our equity there against ace jack off suit, which albeit isn't anything, but if we were out of position to ace jack off suit there on that exact same board texture with a hand like 9-7 second pair, ace jack off suit's going to be a significantly, like, it's going to be a favourite to win that pot from me, especially when he's got the flush draw too, which he had. Because I'm going to have to check at some point, and he's then going to be able to attack my weak line. Whereas when I'm in position, he's the one that's got to check, and I get to decide, do I want to value bet or do I not want to value bet? Do I want to call his bet? If he double barrels, do I want to call? He's repping quite a strong hand, or do I want to fold? In position, we just get to make all these decisions much better with much more information, and that was a good example of how playing a marginal hand in position can be fine, and how playing a marginal hand out of position can be a complete, unprofitable situation. I would argue that playing 9-7 suited on the button to an early position open is slightly plus EV. I would argue that playing 9-7 suited from under the gun or middle position by being the pre-flop raiser. Even though we're the raiser, we've got the initiative, I would say it's close to being negative EV most of the time. So yeah, hopefully that again helps demonstrate just how important position is. We get raised by Weatherman. I don't think we can raise here to Weatherman, but again, it's another shit situation. He's just been so damn aggressive. If he's got a set, then hallelujah. 2 pairs are hard to come by on this board texture. That's a really good card for us, because kind of the only thing I'm scared of really now is like a set of 3s and a set of jacks. It takes away one of his sets, in my opinion. But this is where Wesnan just gets to decide if a bet goes in on the turn or not. Whereas when we're in position, if he checks, we just get to put all that money in. I mean, we're going to do it now anyway. And Wesnan was just being an absolute numpty, but fair play. Yeah, it's been a fun session. Don't recall making a more action-packed 2 tabling video, that's for sure. But we have reached the 30-minute stage. If you do have it, we don't have had enough examples, in my opinion, of like the advantage of position and disadvantage of out of position. If you do have any hands you'd like to discuss, please post them in the threads. Please join my Facebook group. If you search Facebook for Reggie-Time Poker and Microstates Cash Group or something like that, please come and join us there. We have lots of good discussion. People post hand. There's several guys who get involved. You will never get trolled. You will never get flamed. You'll never get some anonymous name on a forum basically calling you all the names you could lay the tongue to. You don't get any of that. It's a lovely group. It's a nice place for Microstates grinders. And yeah, I'll be delighted to see some of you guys join us there and help build an even bigger and better group. Oh, that's an interesting hand. Out of position, blind versus blind. We have to see bet here because we have a draw and we can rep the ace. But this is a situation again where I'd be much happier betting versus a check rather than leading out. Now we have to kind of double barrel here because we picked up some extra equity. We still have the draw. Fortunately, it's worked for us. But there you're kind of thinking, oh, please fold. You're hoping. You're literally hoping he folds rather than if he checks to us twice. You know, you can just have more confidence in everything you're doing, and I guess that's the crux of position. It just gives us more confidence in our decision making because we just got that extra bit of information to help us come to some good decisions. So yeah, I hope this has been a useful video for you guys. Either way, if it has or it hasn't, please leave some comments, leave some feedback, whatever. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, well, you know where to put your comments. And yeah, hope to see you again next time. Probably going to be making most of my videos on Sky going forwards because Triple Eight's a joke at the minute. It's just riddled with all kinds of nasties. My opinion on Sky Stars if you've followed the channel for a while. So it's kind of going to be Unibet or Sky most of the time. We've got one last situation over here on the table off screen. We isolated the under the gun limper Trev, and again this is a situation where we might be here forever with this video. We have like a relatively our absolute strength is an overpair, so we're quite happy with our hand. But again, we're not really we're kind of betting, praying the race doesn't come, and now the flush cards come, and we don't get to decide whether a bet goes in now. We just have to check because we can't value bet. And now we just get to sometimes get bluffed. Who knows what's happening here, but there's a situation where frequently we would have bet, and he maybe would have checked a flush to us on the river. We just get to check and lose, but now we're kind of just like, who knows? And we have to fold, and just being out of position, it just sucks, doesn't it? And that hand's a great example of just why it sucks, because we just have to check that river because we just cannot value bet, and we kind of turn our hand face up as it's just one pair, and we give any remotely decent player the opportunity to just do exactly that to us. And maybe he was bluffing there, maybe he wasn't. Who cares? The point being that because we have to check on those boards, he's been giving us some information about our hand. Effectively, he said we don't have a flush or we don't have a full house. So therefore, if he knows that and he's any good, he can just make that play and then puts us in a shit spot. Do we have to just keep calling against him? And because, you know, he might be bluffing quite a lot, or do we just always have to fold to him? It's just a crappy spot all of a sudden. So we want to avoid putting ourselves in those spots pretty much by not playing too many marginal hands out of position that gets us into funny spots. But there we go. I'm going to end the video now before we find another hand that's going to drag it out even further. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Take care, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye for now.